Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. This is Alert Day Trading. The purpose of this video and the videos I make is to journal my trades, verbalize my thoughts, notice any mistakes I'm making, notice good behaviors I'm doing and trying to duplicate those. And so today I'm watching DKL. I also made a trade on PECK. And when I first logged on this morning, this one was having a nice move upward. It was getting halted, and I was hoping to buy one of these pullbacks, but it just kept going down, so I lost interest. But then I noticed just recently the price went up around the VWAP area, so I made an entry right around here, and this was my stop loss, and as you can see I got stopped out. No big deal, small loss. And then I've been looking at DKL, and I noticed that this also has a nice move up, and with the pullback, around $13, I thought there was nice potential up to $14.45, and the entry was right around here, 12.80s. The stop loss below $12. It's about risking $1 to make just under $2, so that's about risk to reward 1 to 2. And so I entered the trade here, but as you can see, my stop loss never got hit, and so here's the entry, stop loss about here, and we approached it, but it never reached it. So I would say from my entry 715 to my first exit point, talking about 50 minutes, 55 minutes, and usually a trade should work out right away, but it didn't. And so I think the lesson here is to stick to your stop loss. The one thing that was giving me confidence in the trade was that the EMA and the VWAP levels were holding. So I just actually entered the trade a little bit more. Pay attention to that. I'll sell a little bit into the 90s. So let's see what happens here. So what I was trying to say earlier is that I'm using the 5-minute chart. And the thing that gave me confidence to stay in the trade was that the EMA was holding. So if I'm in a trade for as long as I was, I might raise my stop loss with the EMA. So for example, I might trim position over here, and then so if the trade goes against me, the small loss turns into an even smaller loss, but it ended up turning into a nice trade. So about entry point was around 12. Well, this is a 5 minute. I use the 1 minute, the 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute. So I entered with the 3 minute. It was at 12.85. And then I also entered in just as the 5 minute. Well, my main trade was the 3 minute, and I added a little bit more as we broke above $13, since I thought the trade was still on an uptrend following the 9 EMA. And here we have a pullback. So I added to my position. There was increased volume at the previous high. So all we need is a little bit of volume. My stop loss is going to be just under $13 right here. $12.97 as my stop loss. I just sold a little bit of my position. As a whole dollar is a level of resistance. And the next area I might take away is at the high of the day, which is 14.45. Once I start to take profits, I'm going to raise my stop loss. So as the EMA rises, so does my stop loss. EMA is at 13.47. The low of these candles are 13.33. So I think I'm going to raise this red line up to about just under 13.30s. I'm hoping for obviously more of a move above $14. So as you can see, it's approaching the high of the day. $14 isn't, well, we'll see if $14 holds. So you'd like to see a close above the price level that you're watching. A close above the level is it's not a guarantee, but it shows you that people are willing to pay that price with more conviction. I also like to trim my position when a position is going into my favor. The lows of candles. So, for example, my original stop loss was below $13. And once I started trimming as it approached $14, um, I raised my stop loss. I'm following the 9 EMA, so I'm raising my stop loss there. But once this candle will close, then I'm also going to trim if it breaks below this candle, because that's not a good sign. It means that the trend might be reversing. So when you trim your position, you're reducing your risk. So, one might argue, but you're also reducing your reward. But at the same time, you don't want to be in a position that has negative signals. So you look at this pullback, it's making new lows. So that's a downtrend. And then as the green candles broke above the red candles, we're now in an uptrend. And you want that uptrend to continue. If you look here, okay, so here the candle closed. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a stop loss right here. Doesn't have to be exactly right below it, but a little bit. So that's about 1350, 1360, so just under that. And just a small portion, doesn't have to be a big portion. But trade is looking okay. I'm not crazy about the volume, which is why I'm a little bit more conservative. So I'll trim at the low of this candle, probably trim more at the low of this candle. And then probably stick to my original stop loss level. Now, the main thing I'm not crazy about is the volume right here. So, it's definitely important not to be greedy, and you probably want to. So, I'm getting ready to sell as the price approaches the high of the day. And there's also a resistance on the daily chart. That's where this red line comes in. Break above that would be great, but that's a lot of hoping. And I guess the main message for this video is patience. So, as I was telling you before, look how long it took for the trade to become profitable. As long as you stick to your plan, my stop loss was down here, and as it kind of created new bottoms, I raised. You can see each red line are the stop losses. So the trade doesn't turn out to be a big winner. At least the losses are small. So you can see the price is kind of stalling around $14. So, and this candle's getting ready to close soon, so I'll probably raise another stop loss level right there. Now, I'm not exiting the trade completely, just because I haven't gotten enough profits yet. But once, let's say the price comes to around the high of the day, I'm going to trim a much larger portion of my trade. And then I'll probably raise my stop loss to break even and just follow the 9 EMA. So this is a much longer video than I would prefer to make, but since I'm in a trade, I'm extending the video so we can see what happens, but I pretty much said what I wanted to say. And it's just to be patient, stick to your stop loss. And this is me talking to myself, because like I said, this is to journal my trades, talk about my thought process, learn from my mistakes, notice good behaviors. I would say the good behavior for myself was that I was patient. Because that's the risk you take when you enter the trade. So in this case, it looks like we're making either a low or high. So that's a negative signal right there, especially if this breaks below. So I'm probably right now going to raise my stop loss to the 9 EMA just to minimize any losses here. You can see I was already stopped out a little bit. So I'm just going to exit the trade completely. The break below the 9 EMA, maybe the break below right here. And there you go. So once you're in a trade, it's all about managing the trade, managing your risk. I've been in enough very good winning trades that I've learned small losses and small profits are extremely important. Because when you're in a good trade, it's going to outweigh the small losses. And when you're taking small profits, it also decreases the chance of that trade turning into a big loser. So I think you just have to be in enough very good trades for this to be a long-term profitable plan. So your strategy has to have enough good trades, or the opportunity to be in good trades. And I would say my mistakes and my largest losses come from not following my plan, which include many different criteria. Not too many. I'd say somewhere around 5 to 10 different signals, and anything that falls out of that is definitely would be considered breaking my rules. And I notice anytime I break my rules, that's when I have my largest losses. And which definitely has kept me to do this, because really the problem isn't the act of trading, it's the self-discipline to follow your rules. So that has been my biggest obstacle, and definitely something that I'm really focused on improving: self-discipline. And yeah, just noticing your your thoughts, and how you can think something small, it's not really a big deal, but it actually is. And that could be, trading after, uh, 12 o'clock, trading after, you know, uh, after you notice that certain criteria aren't meeting your standards, uh, waiting for confirmation, or getting into a trade before there is confirmation. For example, just in this trade alone, I'm thinking, why should I wait for this trade? Yeah, exactly. Right now it's below the EMA now. So if I know the volume is decreasing, uh, we've made a lower high. So these are all, we've broken below the green candle of that uptrend. So, this trade, I see it as turning into a small loss. So what I'm wondering is if I should raise my stop loss to exit the trade completely at this level, or sticking here. So I think there's a little bit of greed, hope that the trade will turn in your favor, but at the same time, sticking to my plan. I set my stop loss, so my assessment over here uh, remains true as long as the price doesn't break below. So if it breaks below, I see that as the downtrend continuing. If it holds, we may end up in a range, but there's also the possibility of a continuation. And this goes back to the whole point of this video, is to have patience. One thing that I like to also look at is the 10-minute chart. When things take a little too long. And if you notice the 10-minute chart, the 9 EMA has not been broken once. So I think if that's the case, then when I'm wondering what should I do in this situation, then I'll look at the 10, or at a bigger time frame, and then maybe just use the bigger time frame to help me make my decision. And this line here still looks promising. The 9 EMA is a little bit lower, so in that case, this makes me feel a little comfortable, but at the same time, should I lower it? Because the 10-minute chart has been working really well so far. So these are the questions that are going on in my mind. Still, the issue I have is if you look, the only time that a candle has broken the low of a previous candle is on a pullback. So over here, then we have an uptrend, and then a pullback, and an uptrend, and then a pullback. But the problem is, the previous uptrend did not break or make a new high. So that means your uptrend is weakening. So I think you do have to be a little bit strict on your exit rules in this situation. So I think your levels are in the 20s. It's not looking good. And you might also ask yourself, if it's taking so long, why stay in the trade? Well, that's another question. I think as long as the 9 EMA holds, and it makes sense to stay in the trade. Because if we're in an uptrend, that means the 9 EMA should continue higher. So it just means that maybe it's on a very slow uptrend. Alright, so if it breaks below this 1340 mark, it's not too, it's making another low. Sometimes you'll see when it's so slow, all of a sudden you just get this big drop, which I see happening. So I'm going to stick to my stop loss just under the 30 mark. Like I said, this is a much longer video than I would prefer to make, but you're watching me take a live trade. And like I said, that this is just to journal my trade. So I'm basically journaling as I trade for myself and just talking out loud, talking about my thought process. And I'm listening to myself speak. So I'm trying to notice any, thoughts, emotions, any negative or positive comments I'm saying, because I think no matter how much you learn, you can always learn more. And right now, I feel like what I need to focus on is noticing certain thought patterns and correcting any thoughts that go against what I'm trying to accomplish. I also feel like making this video is keeping me on track or accountable. So there's no hiding. So like I said, look at the 5-minute, it broke below the EMA. So I'm going to stick here to my stop loss and exit the trade completely there. um, low. You can see here in the 5-minute EMA that it broke below, but it stayed above it. Same thing here. So you do have to account for those little uh, differences, right? So stop loss can't be right at the 9 EMA. You have to give it some space. And then, since it's taking so long, I'm using the 10-minute EMA to decide whether to stay in the trade or not. So another thing to notice is the time of day. So it's after 12, which is when a lot of people, well, not a lot, it's lunchtime, or it's around lunchtime. So you can imagine people that were trading, from 9:30 in the morning till 12 p.m. are getting kind of hungry. So that means higher potential of lower volume. Low volume is a negative signal. So, um, but I felt a little confident with this trade. I thought that it had a nice upward momentum, and I mean, we did get a push all the way into 1430. So that'd be another question for myself is, I did take some at the 1390s level because the $14 mark would be a level of resistance. I was hoping to get to the 1440s, but it didn't happen. So in that case, should I have brought my stop loss all the way up to break even? That'd be a good question. So obviously I'm thinking, and as the price reached the $14 mark, I took a little small profit. And the reason why I think that's so important is because when a trade goes against you and you stick to your stop loss rules, that small profit cancels out that small loss. So even though I'm taking a loss here, I'm in a way, it's not going to be exactly break even, but I'm, in a way, this trade is turning into a break even trade. I still have the profits from this move, so obviously I'm lowering my profits by getting into the trade again. I thought there was potential though, and I think you have to take the trade when you see potential. And then now the only thing that I probably should have thought about is that we already reached that level of resistance. So instead of taking a trade, hoping that it goes back to the same point, probably should have waited for the break above this level, and it turns into a breakout trade. So that would be something for me to take from my entry. Because obviously, as you get closer to levels of resistance, your risk to reward ratio is not as favorable as you would prefer it to be. So, I like to close up at 12 o'clock. Obviously, since I'm still in a trade, I still think there's a little potential just because like I said, the 10-minute EMA hasn't been broken. So I'm holding the trade. So what I might do is, if I decide to step away and take care of things I want to get taken care of, I'll just keep the stop loss in place. I'll treat this as a trade that already closed out, and I'll just pay attention as the day goes on. And if I happen to be around and the trade is more in my favor and that I can sell for a profit, then that's a bonus. I see it as a bonus. So I've already prepared myself that this trade has stopped me out, just because of the time of day. So I want to stick to my my rule of not trading past 12 o'clock. So obviously I'm not going to enter into anything else, and I'm only holding this because I still see some potential. We just need some volume to come in, these levels to hold. So as long as these levels hold, I'm happy to stay in the trade. And if I happen to be by the computer in a more profitable area, then I'll take some profits. And I'm treating that as a bonus. So getting a little spike right here. And I think we need to so right now it's about break even, the trade, but I'm not really a fan of selling just because it's at break even. As long as the trade is still in your plan, because I think that's a bad habit. Feel like you shouldn't take a loss when the loss is part of your trading plan. So just because it's at around break even, I don't want to sell, because I feel like that's a bad habit. You're going to minimize your gains in the future. So we're looking at just below. Let's see, the low of this candle is 1334. So break below 1334 would be the stop loss. Now, I'm not going to lower my stop loss, but if the 10-minute chart is taking this long, I'm going to look at the 15-minute chart. And you can see that the EMA is around 1312 here. But you can't be lowering your stop loss levels. It's just not good practice. In my original trade was the 5-minute chart. It's already broken below, so it's just, in my opinion, my trade is kind of done. So we made a lower high, volume is really low. So I'm not going to use the larger time frames to lower my stop losses. If anything, I've raised it to a level that I think makes sense. I mean, it's tempting to lower it, but I mean, if it goes that much lower, the trade's already been, there's already so many signals that to give it that much more room would mean you're only increasing the risk of all these negative signals. If I had a bunch of positive signals, that'd be different, but the only thing positive that I see right now is that this price level is holding. And I've seen this happen where in just 1 second it just drops below. So we'll see. So that's why, as long as this holds, I'm happy to be in the trade. Like I said, this is a much longer video than I would hope to make. So I think what I'm going to do is probably stop the video, and hopefully you're able to learn something. Like I said, the purpose of the videos I make in this video is to journal my trades. And if you're able to learn from my mistakes, my good practices, then good. That's a good thing, but just please don't take this as advice. I'm just verbalizing my thought process. I do review these videos, and it helps me become a better trader. So, looks like the price is holding, but I just think there's not enough volume to sustain this. So I think we might see it's possible we might see this is a break below this trend line here. All right, well, you can look back at DKL and just see if the 1330s held. If it didn't, then I stopped out. If it did hold, I am happy to hold the trade. Just know that my plan I would not hold this after hours. So wherever the price is, whether it's at $50 or or 1330 or 1355. Just before the market close, I would exit the trade. So I don't hold overnight, especially with the market volatility being where it's at. I think you have to be extremely careful with risk. All right, hope you all have a good day. Hopefully this trade turns more in my favor. And just remember to be patient, stick to your rules. And over a large series of trades, as long as your trading plan works, you should be profitable. Okay, good luck. Just remember the purpose of these videos is to journal my trades, not to give any advice, just to go over my thought process.